So, my dear students, today we will continue with again depreciation as we have discussed the other day, depreciation, and we have discussed about the situations. What are the things we have to consider? The cost of the asset, estimated useful life of the asset, and the residual or scrap value. And we also saw the situation, what formula you are going to use when the rate of depreciation is not given. This was the situation, and how to find out the rate of depreciation also in this situation. We have also discussed what will be the method of calculation when the rate of depreciation is given in the question, right? So these were the things we have done in the previous class. Today we will be discussing about the journal entries. The journal entries are common to all the methods. In the last class I just mentioned that there are basically two methods. One is the straight line method and the other one is diminishing balance method. We will be discussing about that in a detailed way, but for that, before going to that, we will be discussing about the journal entries. These are common to all the methods. So first of all, what is there? See, before anything happens, like depreciation is done on fixed tangible asset like building, like furniture, like machinery, isn't it? So before we do the depreciation, there should be something, no, which will lead to the um, availability of this particular asset in the business. Asset होगा business में तभी ना depreciation करोगे. So what you have to do is that you have to purchase the asset, isn't it? First of all, you have to have the asset with you. Either purchase the asset, construct the asset. Like if it is a building, you have to construct it. But this thing is not a part of your syllabus. You don't require to make any entry for the establishment or the construction of a building. Yes, for a purchase of asset, definitely you will have. So we'll start with that. So सबसे पहले क्या होता है? First thing, the asset need to be purchased. Okay, then only depreciation is possible. Otherwise, without asset, there will be no depreciation. So when asset is purchased, जब asset खरीदा जाएगा तो क्या होगा entry? Asset account debit. Asset is a real account, so comes in debit. Asset account debit. To money goes out. Generally the price of the asset is huge, so it is paid through bank, so we mention it to bank account, price of the asset, and to cash account if there is any other related expenses like carriage, installation, all these thing expenses, we generally pay in cash. If you pay the person who brings the asset to you on a tempo by check, he will not accept this. He might accept the Google Pay. Nowadays Google Pay is very prominent, isn't it? But for the time being we will take that it will be paid in cash. Generally we pay it in cash, rarely by using the internet banking or transferring to the account, right? So the journal entry comes out like this: asset account debit, okay, to bank account, to cash account. Okay, that is, to bank will be the price of the asset and to cash will be the other charges or other expenses. Then coming to a next one, when the asset is depreciated. See, once you have purchased the asset, you will definitely use it. If you don't use also, there will be depreciation. Now you will ask why? If I don't use the asset, then why there will be depreciation? I will give a very simple example to you. You just do one thing. You purchase a car and you keep at your home. Don't use it. Just with the out of the curiosity that so something might be happening, something, my value of my asset will decrease, the value of my car will go down, so I will not use it. I will keep it properly in my home, at my home. So that will not at all help you. Rather than that, your value of the car will be decreasing at a higher rate than you if you would have used it. ठीक है? तो क्या होता है ना, एसेट को जितना यूज करोगे उतना उसका वैल्यू प्रोपोर्शनेटली कम डिक्रीज होता है एज कंपेयर टू अगर तुम उसका यूज ही ना करो. Understood? A building which is not at all used, what happens? There's no proper ventilation. The building gets damp and the quality of the building gets degraded. But if someone uses, if the people are staying there, it is properly ventilated, it will have a longer life. That's a simple example. Okay, so when you use the asset, the value of the asset will go on decreasing slowly. Okay, so when the value of asset will decrease, you have to make a record of that. So that process of recording of value of decrease in asset, we call it depreciating the asset. Okay, depreciating the asset. So how it will start? Depreciation is a nominal account. Remember that depreciation is a loss. Okay, it's not an expense, it's a loss. Okay, so since it is a loss, So it is coming under nominal account. And nominal account, debit losses and expenses, credit gains and income. So that is why depreciation is a loss, it will be debited, depreciation account debit. And what happens to the asset? The value of asset is decreasing, isn't it? So asset shows debit balance, we know that asset shows debit balance. So when the value of debit decreases, we simply credit it, isn't it? We simply credit it. So the journal entry comes to depreciation account debit to asset account. Clear? Now coming to the next one. After you have depreciated, we will close the depreciation account. How will you close it? We will close the depreciation account like this. This depreciation is closed by transferring to profit and loss account. In the beginning classes, I have told you the accounting cycle where you used to get journal, ledger, trial balance, and after that we prepare the trading account, profit and loss account, balance sheet. Okay, trading, profit and loss account, and balance sheet. These are the final accounts. So final account means the final place where the books of all the details will be placed. So all the losses, if it is in indirect nature, I will talk about what is indirect in nature in the later part of the classes, not in depreciation. Obviously, in the by the end of class 11 classes when we are discussing about the final accounts of sole proprietorship, not here. Okay, so all the indirect expenses like depreciation will be closed by transferring to profit and loss account. So depreciation is showing debit balance here, debit, isn't it? So to close it, you have to credit it. So depreciation will be credited. And where it will be transferred? In the profit and loss account. So since it is a loss, so it will appear in the profit and loss debit side. Okay, profit and loss account is the mother of all the nominal account, which are indirect in nature. Indirect means it is not having direct influence on production. So all the indirect expenses will be ultimately closed by transferring to profit and loss account. That is why we are taking profit and loss account here. How to close it? Depreciation source debit balance, just credit it and close, credit it, it will be closed. And where this amount will appear? In the profit and loss account. If it is a profit, if it is a profit, indirect profit, it will go in the credit side of profit and loss account. But since depreciation is an indirect loss, so it will come in the profit and loss account debit side. Okay, so the journal entry comes like this: profit and loss account debit to depreciation account. Okay, now this is the base entry. Okay, this is the first entry which will happen only when you purchase the asset, but the second and the third entry, it will go on repeating itself whenever there is depreciation. And remember, my dear children, when there will be depreciation, depreciation is done, depreciation is done in two of the situation. इन दो सिचुएशन में डेप्रिसिएशन को किया जाता है. Two situation. Number one, when the asset, when there is year ending or when the year ends. It can be 31st December, it can be 31st March, depending on whatever the business is following. When the year ends, at the time you have to do the depreciation. And again, when the asset is sold, if you sell the asset, at the time also the depreciation is done, provided the asset is sold at provided the asset is not sold at the year ending, rather it is sold in the middle of the year or in between the year. Okay, not the year ending. Clear? So in these two situations you have to calculate the depreciation. Remember that. Okay, this is very very important, you should know that. So whenever the year ends, you have to close the, you have to do the depreciation and then you have to close it. So first you have to charge the depreciation using this entry, and then you have to close the depreciation using this entry. So this second and the third entry will repeat itself till the asset is there, and the first entry will take place only when the asset is purchased. Suppose you have purchased another new asset, then this entry will be there whenever it is purchased. जब भी खरीदोगे तब होगा. And the second and the third entry will be repeated every year ending. Okay, every year ending. Clear? Will be repeated every year. Only the second and the third point will be repeated. Clear? I hope all of you have understood this point. Okay, ये दोनों ही repeat होगा. So coming to the next one, we have an example here. This we can journal entry on this example for you. Suppose the machinery purchased is 50,000 and you have paid carriage of 1,000. It's just an example, okay? A complete depreciation sum will not be of this type. It will not be a one line sentence. It will be a big question or at least a paragraph question. Okay, we will be discussing about that. But first of all, you try to understand the journal entries with this example. So machinery purchased at rupees 50,000 and paid carriage rupees 1,000. We have purchased the machinery at 50,000 and we have paid the carriage of 1,000. So what is happening here? Machinery, what are the items we are getting? Machinery, right? Then we cannot take purchase because it is asset, so we'll take machinery. Then we have got cash of 50,000 and carriage of rupees 1,000. Then carriage is there, right? So what have we have done? We have got machinery, we have got cash or bank, you can say, and carriage. You can even write cash here because cash is not mentioned or bank is not mentioned. Whether you are making the payment through check or you are making the payment in cash, it's not mentioned. So you can assume it to be cash. But generally what happens now is that most of the amount which is higher than 10,000 or more like this, we do a online transfer or bank transfer. Okay, we pay directly through bank. That is why we have put bank here. Okay, digital India, right? So now machinery. So what is the first item? Machinery. Machinery is a real account. And what is the rule for real account? Debit what comes in, credit what goes out. So if you purchase a machinery, debit what comes in, credit what goes out. So when you purchase a machinery, what will happen? Machinery will come to you. So machinery comes in, it will be debit. The next one, at rupees 50,000, you're purchasing it at 50,000. So we are assuming this as the payment from bank, right? So when you make the payment, what will happen? Money will come or go. Bank is a personal account, you can take from that point of view also. So personal account, debit the receiver, credit the giver. So when the machine will be purchased, bank will pay the money, isn't it? The money will be paid from the bank. So bank is a giver here, personal account giver, isn't it? Personal account giver will be credit. Then coming to the next one, carriage. Carriage is a nominal account. Okay, carriage is a nominal account, but we are not going to record carriage here. Remember that we are not going to record carriage here. Why we will not record carriage here? Because whenever any expenses is made at the time of purchase of asset, we take that as expenses as a capital expense. Whenever any expense is made while purchasing the asset, we take it as capital expenses. Okay, and that is added with the value of asset. So here carriage of 11,000. Okay, carriage of 11,000, sorry, 1,000 will be taken as a capital expenses and will be added to the value of asset. So here what will be the value of machine? 50,000 plus 1,000, 51,000, right? So we will take this 1,000 here. And as I told you earlier, any other expenses will be recording in the name of cash. This was the journal entry, no? Bank will be the price of the asset and any other expenses will be recording in the name of cash. So cash 1,000. So what is happening? Cash is a real account, goes out. If you pay the carriage, it will go out. So carriage paid, goes out, credit, right? So what will be the journal entry? Machinery account debit 51,000 to bank account 50,000 to cash account 1,000. 51,000 will be the price of the asset plus carrying charges, that is total cost of the asset, and to bank will be the price of the asset, to cash will be the other expenses. Okay, then we can just sum it up with the narration being machinery purchased, right? Then coming to the next one, charge depreciation on machinery. Now if the question will be definitely asking you to charge depreciation on the machinery, then what you will be doing, how will you be doing? So while doing that, you have to see what are the items here. Charge depreciation, we have already learned the journal entry, but still what will be there? Item charge depreciation. So one, we are getting the depreciation on machinery, the other one is the machinery, right? So depreciation is definitely a nominal account, it's a loss, isn't it? So it will be debit. Machinery is a real account, the value of the asset is decreasing because of depreciation. So when the asset decreases, asset shows debit balance. when the value of asset decreases, the debit balance decreases. So to decrease the debit, you have to credit it. So machinery will be credit. Okay, clear? Or even you can say the value of the asset is going out from the business. गायब हो जा रहा है, कम जा रहा है, चला गया value उसका. So goes out credit. Okay, goes out credit. Then what will be the journal entry? Depreciation will be debited and machinery will be credited. So the journal entry will be depreciation account debit 5,100 to machinery 5,100. How this 5,100 came? We have got the machinery value as 51,000, isn't it? And what was the rate? What was the rate? 51,000. What was the rate? 10%, right? 10 by 100. So this is how the depreciation amount of 5,100 came. So what will you write after that? A narration which will sum it up being depreciation on machinery charged. Okay. Now coming to the next one. After you have charged the depreciation, what will you do? We can close the depreciation, right? How to close the depreciation? To close the depreciation, what you have to do? As I already told you, close the depreciation means depreciation was showing debit balance. So to close the debit, you have to credit it. So depreciation is credited, right? And what where this amount will go? It will be ultimately going to profit and loss account. So journal entry will be like this: profit and loss account debit. Since it is a loss, so profit and loss account will be debited. And since it is going to see profit and loss is going to digest the loss here, right? So to digest a loss, profit and loss have to keep itself in its place. उसको उसके जगह पे रखना पड़ेगा. So depreciation was loss, so it was showing debit. So in place of that, profit and loss is digesting it. So profit and loss will be debit. And what happens to depreciation? It will be closed, so it will be credit now, right? Let's take it as a fun and try to understand. Okay, so क्या होता है कि उसके जगह पे कैप्चर कर लिया, तो अब उसको बंद कर दिया, डेप्रिसिएशन को बंद कर दिया साइड लगा के, और उसके जगह पे क्या आ गया? प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट. ठीक है, घटना क्या हुआ यहाँ पे? बीइंग डेप्रिसिएशन account closed by transferring being depreciation account closed by transferring to profit and loss account. Okay, I hope all of you have understood. Clear? So that's all from for today's class. Next year we will take up a complete sum where we will be discussing in detail about how to do the sums. Okay, how to do sums on depreciation. Okay, please take care of yourself and make a proper note of this. This is very important chapter. It will have at least 10 marks. Okay, for your exam. So please take care of that. Okay, then take care. Bye bye.